Chioma, bring me some water, and make sure it's cold this time. Chioma looked up from her laptop, where she'd been reviewing quarterly reports for Chioma Lux, her skincare empire. Mama Obinna sat in the living room of Chioma's 200 million Nigerian nairas, Ikoyi mansion, giving orders like she owned the place. "Of course, Mama," Chioma said, closing her laptop with practiced patience. As she walked to the kitchen, she heard her mother-in-law on the phone. "Yes, my daughter-in-law. She's adequate, not like Adora was. That girl knew how to respect elders. But these modern women with their businesses, 2 years of marriage, 18 months of living with Mama Obinna, and still, every day felt like swallowing glass." Chioma poured the water, adding ice cubes, and brought it to her mother-in-law with a smile that had become muscle memory. "Thank you. Finally, you're learning. A woman's place is service." Chioma returned to her laptop. Service. She'd built an 800 million Nigerian nairas company from scratch over 10 years. She employed 200 people. Her products were in stores across Nigeria. But to Mama Obinna, she was just a woman who needed to learn her place. The front door opened. Obinna walked in, designer suit perfectly tailored, expensive watch gleaming, all purchased with Chioma's money, though she stopped mentioning that after the first 5 arguments. "Baby," he kissed her cheek, all charm and warmth. "How was your day?" "Busy. We launched the new serum line. Sales projections are strong. That's my girl. Making moves." He loosened his tie. "Mama, how are you?" "Tired. Your wife had me waiting 30 minutes for water." Chioma's jaw tightened. It had been 3 minutes. But Obinna just smiled sympathetically. "Baby, you know Mama's health. Try to be more attentive." This was the pattern. Mama Obinna complained. Obinna sided with his mother. Chioma swallowed her frustration. "Dinner will be ready in an hour," Chioma said, heading to the kitchen. She'd given the cook the night off because Mama Obinna had complained the food was too fancy. So now Chioma, CEO of a multimillion naira company, was cooking dinner in her own mansion. As she chopped vegetables, she thought about how she'd gotten here. 3 years ago, at a business conference in Abuja, she'd met Obinna. He was charming, attentive, seemed genuinely impressed by her success. He'd presented himself as an entrepreneur running a tech consultancy, struggling but with potential. "The economy is tough," he'd said over their first dinner, "but I'm working on something big. I just need the right break." She'd fallen for his vulnerability, his apparent respect for her ambition, his "I'll support you" attitude that felt so different from the men who were intimidated by her success. They'd dated for a year. He'd been perfect, romantic, understanding when she worked late, proud of her achievements, or so it seemed. When he proposed, she'd said yes without hesitation. The wedding had been lavish. 50 million Nigerian nairas. Chioma had paid for everything. "I'm between deals, baby," Obinna had explained. "But I promise, once my business takes off, I'll pay you back double." That was 2 years ago. His business had never taken off. In fact, it had quietly died. 0 revenue, 0 clients, 0 anything except excuses. The market is tough. Investors are cautious. Next quarter will be different. Meanwhile, Chioma funded everything. The 200 million Nigerian nairas mansion, in joint names because Obinna had insisted they were partners. The cars, also joint names. The household staff. The groceries. Mama Obinna's medical bills. Obinna's designer wardrobe. 15 million Nigerian nairas monthly. Her accountant had warned her last week. "Madam, your personal expenses are draining business profits. This is unsustainable." When she gently suggested Obinna get a job, just to contribute while building his business, he'd exploded. "A job? You want to emasculate me? Make me work under someone? What kind of wife are you?" Mama Obinna had joined in. "See what your success has done? You've forgotten how to respect your husband." So Chioma had apologized, felt guilty for suggesting her husband contribute financially to the marriage. Now, 2 years in, she was starting to see cracks she'd been too in love to notice before. Obinna never actually worked. His consultancy was a website that hadn't been updated in a year. Yet he spent money like he earned millions, nights out with business associates, expensive gadgets, golf club memberships. When she asked about it, he got defensive. So now you're monitoring me? Treating me like a child. And Mama Obinna always had his back. A man needs to maintain his image. You're his wife. Supporting him is your duty. Dinner that night was tense. Obinna complained the jollof rice was too spicy. Mama Obinna complained it wasn't spicy enough. Chioma ate in silence, wondering how her life had become this. After dinner, Obinna went out, meeting with potential investors. Don't wait up. He came home at 2 a.m., smelling of expensive perfume that wasn't Chioma's. When she mentioned it, he accused her of being paranoid. This is why my business isn't growing. You're always creating drama instead of supporting me. The next morning, Friday, Chioma had a business trip to Abuja, last-minute meeting with distributors. She left at 6 a.m., kissed Obinna goodbye while he pretended to be asleep, and headed to the airport. The meeting went well. Too well. They finished early. Her 4 p.m. return flight got moved to noon. She landed in Lagos at 1 p.m., excited to surprise her husband with an early return. She walked into her mansion quietly, planning to find Obinna and suggest a spontaneous lunch date. Something to reconnect, to remember why they'd fallen in love. As she set down her bags, she heard voices. From Mama Obinna's room, which was unfortunately right next to the main staircase, the door was slightly ajar, and the tone of the conversation made Chioma stop. Not the words yet, just the tone. Conspiratorial, secretive, wrong. She stood very still and listened. Obinna, we've been patient for 2 years. Where are you going to finalize this plan? Chioma's heart stopped. Mama, I'm working on it. These things take time. Time? I've been living in this woman's house for 18 months, pretending to tolerate her. I'm tired of acting. Acting. The word hit Chioma like a slap. I know, Mama, but we have to be smart. If I divorce her now, I get nothing. The prenup I signed was airtight. Prenup? They'd never signed a prenup. Chioma had wanted one. Her lawyer had insisted, but Obinna had been devastated. Baby, don't you trust me? A prenup would hurt my pride. It's saying our marriage is a business transaction. Is that what you think? She felt terrible. Drop the prenup. Prove her trust. Mama Obinna laughed on the other side of the door. That stupid lawyer of hers. Thank God you convinced her not to do it. Baby, don't you trust me? A prenup would hurt my pride. Men and their egos, always useful. Chioma's hand flew to her mouth. Her whole body went cold. The plan is working perfectly, Obinna continued. The house, the cars, everything is in joint names because I insisted we're partners. 6 months into marriage, Obinna had convinced her to add his name to everything. We're married now. What's yours is mine. What's mine is yours. Let's make it official. Her lawyer had advised against it, but Obinna had been so hurt by her hesitation. Fine. Keep everything in your name. I guess I'm just the poor husband you're ashamed of. She'd added his name to prove she wasn't ashamed, to prove she trusted him. But she still controls the business. Mama Obinna said, that's where the real money is. I'm working on that. I've been documenting everything. Her unstable moods, her unreasonable behavior, her neglect of wifely duties. The neighbors I've been talking to, they all think she's difficult now. I made sure of that. Chioma remembered the neighborhood association meetings. Mama Obinna going to tea with the other wives, coming back with reports. Everyone thinks you work too much, neglect your home, disrespect your husband. It had been strategic. Deliberate character assassination. Perfect, Obinna said. And I've been recording our arguments, editing them to make her seem crazy, aggressive. What about Adora? Is she ready? Chioma's breath caught. Adora, Obinna's ex-girlfriend. The one Mama Obinna was always praising. Adora was so humble, so respectful, so traditional. Oh, yes, Obinna laughed. Adora has been very patient. She knows once I divorce Chioma, and get half of everything. We'll finally be together. The hallway spun. Chioma pressed her hand against the wall to stay upright. So the timeline, Mama Obinna said, like she was discussing a business plan. You provoke her into a public incident. Paint her as unstable, file for divorce claiming emotional abuse, and take half of everything including the business valuation? Exactly. My lawyer says with the joint assets and no prenup, I'm entitled to half of everything acquired during the marriage, including business growth. Chioma Lux was worth 500 million Nigerian nairas when we married. Now it's 800 million Nigerian nairas. That's 300 million Nigerian nairas growth during our marriage. I'm entitled to half of that. 150 million Nigerian nairas. Mama Obinna calculated, plus half the house, half the cars. And I'm free to marry Adora, a woman who knows her place. Not like this career-obsessed which who thinks money makes her a man. They laughed. Actually laughed. When will you trigger the public incident? Mama Obinna asked. Soon. Maybe at her company's anniversary gala next month. Very public. Lots of witnesses. I'll provoke her. She'll react. I'll play victim. You'll back me up. She's been abusive for months. I was afraid to speak up. Perfect. 2 years of playing the supportive husband. Obinna said, his voice dripping with contempt. 2 years of letting her empower me. 2 years of pretending to love her. All worth it for 150 million Nigerian nairas minimum. You played your role well, son. Even I almost believe you loved her sometimes. Please. I couldn't even get it up half the time. Had to think about Adora just before my husbandly duties. More laughter. And the best part? She funded her own destruction. Every naira she spent on us, every bill she paid, every time she held things down, she was building our payout. Feminist women are so easy. Mama Obinna agreed. Tell them you respect their independence. Watch them pay for everything. Then take half when you're done. Chioma stood in her hallway, her mansion, bought with her money, and felt her entire reality shatter. Everything was a lie. The love, the partnership, the supportive husband, the difficult mother-in-law who might warm up eventually. All of it, strategy, performance. A con. She'd been married to a stranger, a con artist, for 2 years, and she'd funded every moment of her own betrayal. Her phone buzzed. Obinna texting. Babe, stuck in traffic. Be home late. Ordered dinner. She looked at the message, at the casual lie, at the man who was planning to destroy her at her own company gala. She wanted to scream, to burst into that room and confront them, to throw them both out of her house. But a CEO doesn't make emotional decisions. A CEO thinks strategically. They had a plan to take everything from her. She needed a better plan to destroy them first. Chioma quietly picked up her bags, walked back outside, got in her car and drove. She needed time to think, to plan, to be smart. She'd built an empire from nothing, survived ruthless competition, outsmarted business rivals. And they thought they could con her? By the time she returned home 2 hours later, her tears were dry, her makeup was fixed, and she had shopping bags from Obinna's favorite restaurant. Honey, Mama, I'm home. I brought dinner. They came out all smiles. Obinna kissed her cheek. Mama Obinna nodded approvingly at the food. If Chioma didn't know better, she'd think they actually cared. But now she saw the performance, the calculated affection, the lies. Two could play this game, and she was much, much better at strategy than they realized. The anniversary gala was in 4 weeks. She had exactly 4 weeks to beat them at their own plan. Chioma sat in her office Monday morning, staring at her computer screen without seeing it. 3 days since she'd overheard the plot. 3 days of smiling at her husband and mother-in-law while rage burned beneath her skin. 3 days of playing the naive wife while planning their destruction. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Obinna's voice. 2 years of pretending to love her, all worth it for 150 million Nigerian nairas. Her desk phone rang. Her executive assistant. Ma, your 9 a.m. is here. Send her in. Mrs. Adebayo entered. not Chioma's regular lawyer. Someone Obinna had never met, recommended by a trusted business associate for sensitive matters requiring complete discretion. Mrs. Chioma. They shook hands. You said this was urgent. Chioma slid a folder across the desk. I need to understand my legal position. My husband plans to divorce me and claim half of everything. I have evidence he married me fraudulently. What are my options? Mrs. Adebayo reviewed the documents. Property deeds showing joint ownership. Bank statements showing Chioma funding everything. A timeline of Obinna's zero income. Tell me about the prenup. There isn't one. He convinced me it showed lack of trust. Classic manipulation. Mrs. Adebayo made notes. Legally, with joint assets and no prenup, he could claim marital contribution to everything acquired during marriage. The business grew from 500 million Nigerian nairas to 800 million Nigerian nairas? Potentially claimable. What if I prove fraud? That the marriage was a con from the start? Fraud vitiates consent. If you can prove he married you with intent to defraud, the marriage could be annulled rather than divorced. In annulment, he gets nothing. What constitutes proof? Documented evidence of the plot. Proof he never intended a real marriage. Evidence of ongoing conspiracy to defraud you. Chioma pulled out her phone, connected it to her laptop, and played the audio recording. She returned to the house after a planning drive. While Obinna and Mama Obinna ate the dinner she brought, she'd installed tiny cameras in common areas, legal in your own home. For 3 days, she recorded everything. Obinna and Mama Obinna discussing the plan in detail. Obinna on the phone with Adora. Soon, baby. Soon we'll be together and have her money. Mama Obinna coaching him. At the gala, say she's been emotionally abusive. I'll cry and confirm it. Mrs. Adebayo's eyes widened as she watched. This is comprehensive. Is it enough? More than enough. This is conspiracy to commit fraud, documented in their own words. But Mrs. Chioma, she leaned forward. If you want maximum protection, you need to act before he does. What do you suggest? First, restructure your assets. Second, gather more evidence. Third, control the narrative. Beat him to the public exposure. They spent 3 hours strategizing. The plan, Phase 1, asset protection. Chioma called her business accountant that afternoon. Emergency meeting, total confidentiality. By evening, they had a strategy. Chioma Lux would be sold to an offshore holding company, actually owned by Chioma through a complex corporate structure her husband knew nothing about. On paper, she retained only 40% of a struggling business. The 480 million Nigerian nairas from the sale would be safely offshore, untouchable. It'll take 2 weeks to finalize, her accountant said. Can you wait that long? I have 4 weeks until he springs his trap. 2 weeks is perfect. The house was trickier. Obinna's name was on the deed. She couldn't remove it without his knowledge. Stop paying the mortgage, Mrs. Adebayo advised. It's in both names. Let him deal with the bank when they come asking. The cars, also jointly owned, could be stolen. Chioma had all the keys. She'd move them to a secure facility, report them stolen to insurance. Obinna would have to prove they weren't stolen. Difficult when his wife controlled access. The joint bank accounts? She would draw her contributions, leave 50,000 Nigerian nairas, not emptying it maliciously, just reclaiming her money. This is aggressive, her accountant warned. If he challenges, by the time we get to court, I'll have him in handcuffs for fraud. Phase 2, evidence gathering. Chioma hired Lagos's best private investigator. I need everything on Obinna Nwosu and Adora Okeke. Financial records, relationship timeline, communications. Everything. The PI was thorough. Within a week, Chioma had photos of Obinna and Adora at hotels throughout their marriage, timestamps proving ongoing affair phone records showing daily calls, and explicit messages financial records showing Obinna borrowing from Chioma Lux petty cash. Nigerian naira 2 million over 18 months, undocumented. Theft out Obinna's laptop search history. He used her home Wi-Fi, was careless with passwords, how to claim wife's business in divorce. Recording spouse without consent legal, proving wife mentally unstable. Phase 3, the Adora Factor. Chioma created a fake Instagram account. Young, pretty woman in Abuja started following Adora. She DM'd her, "Hey girl, I saw you at Southern Sun Hotel last week with that fine guy. Tall, handsome, expensive watch? Lucky you." Adora flattered, "OMG, yes, that's my man. We're keeping it quiet for now, but soon..." "He's fine. I've seen him around Abuja a lot, though, always with different women. But I'm sure you're special." Seed planted. Adora started questioning Obinna. "Who else are you seeing in Abuja?" "Baby, nobody." "Where is this coming from?" "Someone saw you with other women." "Lies. You know people are jealous of what we have." But doubt had entered. Chioma sent more messages to Adora over the following days. "Saw your man again at Transcorp Hilton with another woman. Just thought you should know, girl." Adora became paranoid. Started pressuring Obinna. "When are you leaving her? You keep saying soon, but..." "Adora, you're making this complicated. The gala is in 3 weeks. Just be patient." Their relationship showed cracks, all documented by the PI's cameras. Phase 4, the trap. Tuesday night, 2 weeks before the gala, Chioma came home with a smile. "Honey, can we talk?" Obinna looked up from his phone. Texting Adora, Chioma knew. She cloned his phone remotely. "Sure, baby. The company's anniversary gala is coming up. I know. I'm excited to celebrate your success. Such a good actor. I want to do something special. Something I've been thinking about for a while." She took his hand. "I want to announce that you're joining Chioma Lux as a partner." "Koseo." Obinna's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. "Really? Really? You've been so supportive for 2 years. You believed in me when times were tough. It's time I make it official. You deserve to be recognized." Obinna could barely contain himself. "Baby, I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Be my partner. Officially." "Yes. Of course, yes." They hugged. He kissed her. She felt bile rise in her throat, but kept smiling. After he went to bed, she heard him on the phone with Mama Obinna. "The foolish woman is going to make me co-CEO. We don't even need the divorce plan. I'll control the business directly." "Perfect. Accept it, then push her out slowly." Hostile takeover from inside. All captured on camera. The next 2 weeks were a performance worthy of an Oscar. Chioma played the loving wife preparing a big announcement. Obinna played the grateful husband, barely hiding his glee. Mama Obinna played the warming mother-in-law, finally accepting her daughter-in-law now that the payout was guaranteed. Behind the scenes, the business sale was finalized. 480 million Nigerian nairas safely offshore. The cars were moved to secure storage, reported stolen. The mortgage payment stopped. The bank would send notices to both of them soon. The joint accounts were drained except for 50,000 Nigerian nairas. The PI had compiled a 300-page report on Obinna and Adeora's affair, Obinna's theft, Mama Obinna's slander campaign with neighbors. Mrs. Adebayo had prepared legal documents, annulment petition, criminal complaint for fraud and theft, civil suit for defamation against Mama Obinna. The gala invitations went out. 500 guests. Media coverage. The social event of the quarter. Obinna bought a new tuxedo with Chioma's money, excited to be officially recognized as co-CEO. Adora bought a new dress, excited to attend as family friend and watch her man finally claim his prize. Mama Obinna bought traditional attire, excited to see her son finally get what he deserved. And Chioma? She'd planned every second of what would happen. The night before the gala, Obinna cuddled her in bed. "Thank you, baby, for believing in me. Tomorrow changes everything." "Yes," Chioma agreed. Tomorrow changes everything. He had no idea how right he was. She overheard their plan to con her out of 150 Nigerian nairas million. Now she's setting a trap at her own company gala. If you're ready to see her destroy them, smash that like button. Subscribe to Africantales by Zion because the next chapter shows the public exposure that ruins them. Comment. Should she expose them publicly or just divorce quietly? What would you do? Hit that notification bell. The revenge is about to be epic. The Chioma Lux 12th anniversary gala was magnificent. The Oriental Hotel ballroom glittered with 500 guests, business partners, suppliers, clients, media, Lego Society's elite, crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, champagne fountains. 30 million Nigerian Naira's event budget, worth every Naira for what Chioma had planned. She stood in the dressing room, her makeup artist putting final touches on her look. Custom burgundy gown, hair swept into an elegant updo, jewelry that cost more than most people's cars. She looked like success, felt like vengeance. "You look stunning, Ma," her assistant said. "Thank you. Is everything ready?" "Yes, Ma. AV team has the files." Security is briefed. Mrs. Adebayo is seated in Section B. The media has prime seating. Perfect. Chioma took one last look in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't a naive wife who'd funded her own betrayal. This was the CEO who'd built an empire. And tonight, she defended. She walked into the ballroom. Applause erupted. Obinna was already there, looking handsome in his expensive tux, playing to support a husband. He kissed her cheek, whispered, "You're beautiful," with practiced affection. Mama Obinna sat at the family table in elaborate traditional attire, nodding regally at guests like she had any right to be proud. And there, 2 tables back, Adora, in a tight red dress, jealousy radiating as she watched Obinna with his wife. Chioma smiled at all of them. Dinner was served. Speeches were made. Awards were presented. Chioma Lux's success was celebrated. Then Chioma took the microphone. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for celebrating with us tonight." Applause. Obinna preened, expecting to be announced as co-CEO. "Tonight, I want to talk about the people who've been with me on this journey. The real supporters. The genuine believers." Obinna nodded, thinking this was his moment. "But first, I need to address something personal. Something that broke my heart, but taught me an invaluable lesson about trust." The room quieted. This wasn't the script. Obinna's smile faltered. 2 weeks ago, I came home early from a business trip, and I overheard a conversation that changed my life. She nodded to the AV team. The screens around the ballroom lit up. Mama Obinna's voice. "Obinna, we've been patient for 2 years. Where are you going to finalize this plan?" Obinna's voice. "Mama, I'm working on it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Obinna shot to his feet. "Chioma, where you?" "Sit down," she said calmly. "You wanted a public scene. You'll get one, just not the one you planned." The recording continued. The room listened in shocked silence as Mama Obinna and Obinna discussed their plan in detail. "If I divorce her now, I get nothing. Thank God you convinced her not to do the prenup. The plan is working perfectly. I'm entitled to half of everything. Adaora has been very patient." The screen showed financial records. Obinna's 0 income. Chioma's 15 million Nigerian Nairas, monthly expenses funding their lifestyle. Property documents. House purchased entirely by Chioma. Cars purchased entirely by Chioma. All with Obinna's name added through manipulation. 2 years of pretending to love her. All worth it for 150 million Nigerian Nairas. The ballroom erupted. Phones came out. People stood up. The media scribbled frantically. Mama Obinna tried to leave. Security blocked the exits. Chioma security, her event. "Oh, there's more," Chioma said. "New footage." Obinna on the phone with Adora. "Soon, baby will be together and we'll have her money." Every head turned to look at Adora, who'd gone pale. More audio. Mama Obinna coaching Obinna. "Provoke her at a gala. Make her look unstable. I'll back you up." "Ladies and gentlemen," Chioma's voice was steady, controlled. "I present to you a man who married me for money, contributed nothing for 2 years, and planned to steal half of everything I built." The crowd erupted. People shouting, cameras flashing, chaos controlled only by Chioma's commanding presence. Obinna tried to save face. "This is out of context. Chioma has been emotionally abusive. I've been suffering." "Really?" Chioma cut him off. "Security, please escort Ms. Adora to front." Adora was brought forward, protesting, crying. "Tell everyone," Chioma said, How long have you been sleeping with my husband? Adora, seeing she was caught, broke. 2 years. Even before you married. He said he'd marry me after he got your money. The room exploded again. People booing, shouting at Obinna. She's lying. Obinna tried. The screen showed photos. Obinna and Adora hotels. Restaurants. Very intimate. Timestamps throughout the marriage. Still want to claim I'm the abusive one? Obinna's face went from red to pale. He looked around wildly for support, found only disgust. Chioma turned to Mama Obinna. And you? The concerned mother who temporarily moved into my house 18 months ago. More footage played. Mama Obinna talking to neighbors. My daughter-in-law is so difficult, so disrespectful. Mama Obinna coaching Obinna. Record her when she's angry, edited to make her seem crazy. You weren't a concerned mother. You were part con. Mama Obinna tried to defend herself. You modern women don't know how to treat a husband. In your day, you called this what it is, fraud. A woman stood up in the audience. Mrs. Adebayo. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mrs. Adebayo, representing Mrs. Chioma. Based on the evidence presented tonight, we're filing for annulment on grounds of fraud. Obinna's face went white. You can't. In cases of proven fraud, Mr. Obinna, you're not entitled to marital assets. In fact, you may face criminal charges for theft, fraud, and conspiracy. The room applauded. And about those joint assets? Chioma continued. The house? I stopped paying the mortgage 3 weeks ago. It's in both our names. You can deal with the bank. The cars? Reported stolen and secured. The joint accounts? I withdrew my money. You're welcome to the 50,000 Nigerian nairas I left. Obinna was panicking now, looking frantically between his mother and Adora, both of whom looked equally betrayed. Your tech consultancy? I bought the domain and client list. It's worthless. And the 2 million Nigerian nairas you stole from Chioma Luck's petty cash? That's documented theft. The crowd murmured. This was better than any Nollywood movie. Now, Chioma addressed the room for the actual announcement I planned for tonight. Chioma Lux has been acquired by an international investment firm. I've sold 60% of my shares for 480 million Nigerian nairas. Obinna's eyes went wide. That money was gone, beyond his reach. The remaining 40% will be placed in a family trust for the children I hope to have someday, with a real partner. As for me, I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations to start a new venture, the Second Chance Foundation, helping women escape fraudulent marriages and financial abuse. Standing ovation. People cheering. Chioma looked at Obinna. You want to half my empire? You get nothing. You wanted a public scene? Here it is, just not the one you planned. You wanted to outsmart me? Baby, I built this empire by being smarter than men like you. Security moved forward. Mr. Obinna, Mrs. Obinna, you need to leave. As they were escorted out, the crowd booed. Actually booed them like villains in a movie. Adora sat alone at her table, crying, realizing she'd been used too. Chioma's final words as Obinna was let out. Give Adora my regards. Oh, wait, I forgot. You don't actually love her either. The doors closed behind them. Chioma turned back to her guests, composed herself, and smiled. Now, let's celebrate the real supporters of Chioma Lux. The party continued. Music, dancing, celebration. Chioma networked, laughed, accepted congratulations on her brave exposure fraud. She felt lighter than she had in 2 years. Free. He's exposed. She showed everyone his plan. And he gets nothing. If you're satisfied with this public destruction, smash that like button. Subscribe to Africantales by Zion because the final chapters show the legal consequences and her thriving. Comment. Was this the perfect revenge or too harsh? What would you have done? Hit that notification bell. Justice is being served. The Monday after the gala, Obinna's lawyer called for an emergency meeting. Chioma sat across from them in Mrs. Adebayo's conference room. Obinna looked haggard, the handsome charmer replaced by a desperate man in a cheap suit. Mama Obinna sat beside him, traditional facade crumbling into bitterness. My client wants to negotiate. Obina's lawyer began. Negotiate what? Mrs. Adebayo asked coolly. The assets. Mr. Obina is entitled. To nothing, Chioma said. We've been over this. Fraud vitiates consent. The marriage is being annulled. The house is in both names, yes, and both are responsible for the mortgage I stopped paying. The bank sent notices last week. Feel free to resume payments or let it go into foreclosure. Obina spoke for the first time. Chioma, please, can't we work something out? I made mistakes, but... Mistakes. Chioma's voice was ice. You planned a 2-year con. You married me with intent to defraud. You stole from my business. You committed adultery throughout our marriage. Those aren't mistakes. That's who you are. I'm entitled to something. His desperation showed. 2 years of marriage. 2 years of fraud, Mrs. Adebayo corrected. Your Honor will see the evidence. Video, audio, financial records, witness testimony. You planned this marriage as a scam. You get nothing. The lawyer tried a different angle. Mrs. Chioma, litigation could drag on for years. Expensive, exhausting. Surely a settlement. I'm worth 800 million Nigerian nairas, Chioma said. I can afford expensive. Can he? Silence. I didn't think so. The court hearing came 2 weeks later. Judge Okonkwo reviewed the evidence with increasing disbelief. The recordings, the financial documents, the affair documentation. The testimony from neighbors Mama Obina had slandered Chioma to, now feeling used and angry. Mr. Obina, the judge said, I presided over many divorce cases, but I've never seen fraud this calculated. You married this woman with the express intent to steal her assets. Your Honor, if I could explain. Explain what? We have you on tape discussing your plan. We have evidence you contributed nothing to the marriage while draining her resources. We have proof of ongoing adultery plan before the wedding. The judge's ruling was swift. Annulment granted. Mr. Obina is entitled to nothing. Furthermore, given the evidence of theft, Nigerian naira 2 million taken from Chioma Lux accounts, I'm referring this case to the prosecutor's office for criminal charges. Obina went white. Criminal charges? Theft, fraud, conspiracy. Yes. Mama Obina stood up. This is unfair. My son deserves. Your son deserves exactly what he's getting. Consequences. Mrs. Chioma, you have ground for a civil suit as well. Defamation, emotional distress, fraud. I suggest you pursue it. Chioma did. The civil suit against both Obina and Mama Obina was brutal. Chioma's legal team documented everything. The emotional abuse, the financial exploitation, Mama Obina's slander campaign, the conspiracy to defraud. Obina couldn't afford a good lawyer. His court-appointed attorney tried to negotiate. My client will plead guilty to theft to avoid fraud charges. We want both, Chioma said. Fraud and theft. In the end, Obina pleaded guilty to avoid trial. Theft, 2 million Nigerian nairas. Fraud, marriage under false pretenses. Conspiracy. Sentence. 200 hours community service. 5 million Nigerian nairas fine, which he couldn't pay, converting to more community service. Permanent restraining order from Chioma, and a criminal record that would follow him forever. Mama Obina faced her own reckoning. Chioma sued her for defamation and harassment. The neighbors testified about Mama Obina's lies. The recordings proved conspiracy. Settlement. Mama Obina paid 2 million Nigerian nairas, her entire savings, and signed a public apology published in 3 major newspapers. I, Mama Obina, apologized to Chioma Obi for my role in defrauding her. I misrepresented my intentions, participated in a scheme to steal her assets, and slander her to neighbors and society. I am deeply ashamed. I hope this serves as a warning to others. Fraud has consequences. The social fallout was equally devastating. Obina became a pariah. His story was everywhere, blogs, newspapers, TV shows discussing the anniversary gala con artist. No woman would date him. His story was too public, too humiliating. He couldn't get business deals. The fraud guy? No way. Can't trust him. He ended up working a regular office job, Nigerian Naira 150,000 monthly, answering phones at a small firm that didn't Google his name carefully. The same kind of job he called emasculating. He lived in a small room in Surulere, taking public transport, eating rice and stew from Mama Put, barely scraping by. Everything he'd been trying to avoid by conning Chioma. Mama Obinna never recovered her reputation. Her friends abandoned her. How could you do that to your own daughter-in-law? She moved in with her daughter in Ibadan, banned from Lagos society, broke and humiliated. Obinna and Mama Obinna's relationship imploded. "This is your fault," she screamed at him during one phone call Chioma's PI recorded. "If you'd just been patient, waited longer. You're the one who pushed for the gala confrontation. You're the one who got greedy." The con artists turned on each other, each blaming the other for their downfall. And Adora? She tried to stay with Obinna. "We can still be together." But Obinna broke and bitter. "With what? You think I want you now? You were only useful when there was a payout. Get lost." Adora realized she'd been used and discarded. She left Lagos for Abuja, tried to rebuild, but the story followed her. The other woman in the Chioma Lux scandal. No decent man would date her. No good job would hire her. She ended up working retail, alone, regretting every choice. Meanwhile, Chioma thrived. The Second Chance Foundation launched a massive support. Women reached out daily. Stories of financial fraud, gold diggers, family scams. Chioma helped them. Legal aid, financial restructuring, emotional support. She spoke at conferences. "Ladies, protect your assets. Love is beautiful, but paperwork is essential. Prenups aren't about distrust, they're about wisdom." Her story became both cautionary tale and inspiration. Chioma Lux continued growing under new management. Her 40% stake still earned millions, and she started dating again. Carefully, very carefully. She met Emeka at a business conference. Fitting, since that's where she'd met Obinna. But Emeka was different. He owned a successful logistics company, had financial statements to prove it, insisted on splitting every bill. "I don't need your money," he told her on their third date. "I need your mind, your heart, your partnership. The money? That's yours. You earned it." She was cautious, verified everything, had him investigated, and told him she did. He understood. "After what you went through," Emeka said, "I'd be suspicious too. Verify everything. I have nothing to hide." He didn't. 6 months later, they were serious. 1 year later, engaged, with the most airtight prenup ever written. "I love this," Emeka said, signing it cheerfully. "It means we're both protected. Neither of us is here for the wrong reasons." That's when Chioma knew. This was what real partnership looked like. 2 years after the gala, Chioma stood on another stage, Forbes Africa's most influential women event. She was receiving an award, the CEO who turned betrayal into a business model. The article had been glowing. Chioma Obi didn't just survive fraud. She built an empire from exposing it. The Second Chance Foundation has helped over 500 women. Her advocacy has changed laws, and her personal comeback story inspires millions. She gave her acceptance speech to thunderous applause. 2 years ago, I stood on a different stage and exposed a betrayal that almost destroyed me. But it didn't, because I refused to let someone else's greed define my worth. They thought I was an easy target, a naive rich woman blinded by love. They forgot I didn't get rich by being naive. I got rich by being smart, strategic, and relentless. To every woman out there, your success doesn't make you less deserving of love, but it does make you a target for the wrong people. Protect yourself. Legally, financially, emotionally. Standing ovation. Later, at the after party, Chioma's phone buzzed. "Emeka, congratulations, my love. Proud of you. See you home." Home. Their home. In both names. But this time because they both contributed equally. She smiled and texted back. "Can't wait." She headed out, but paused when she saw him. Obinna. He was working the event. not as a guest, but as part of the service staff, passing drinks, in a server's uniform. Their eyes met across the room. He looked away first, shame written all over his face. Chioma could have gloated, could have said something cutting, but she realized she didn't need to. His life was his punishment. She was on stage receiving awards. He was serving drinks at the event. She was engaged to a man who actually loved her. He was alone, broke, and infamous. She was building empires and changing lives. He was serving appetizers for 5,000 Nigerian nairas a night. Revenge wasn't something she needed to pursue anymore. She'd already won completely. She walked out without saying a word to him. He wasn't worth her words anymore. That night, in the beautiful home she shared with Emeka, Chioma looked at her awards and smiled. The annulment papers were framed on her wall, not as a reminder of pain, but a victory. "Everything okay?" Emeka asked, coming up behind her. "Perfect," she said, leaning into him. "Everything is perfect. That guy at the event, was that?" "Yeah, that was Obinna." "You okay?" "More than okay. I'm grateful." Grateful? He thought he was destroying me. Instead, he freed me to find you, to build the foundation, to become this version of myself. So, yeah, grateful. Emeka kissed her forehead. "He's an idiot." "Yes. Yes, he is." The next morning, Chioma had a foundation meeting. 20 women attended, all survivors of financial fraud in relationships, all rebuilding. She shared her story, not for the first time, but it never got old. "When I overheard that plot, I had two choices. Be a victim or be a victor. I chose victor. And you can too." One woman asked, "How did you stay strong when everything was falling apart?" I remembered who I was before him. CEO, builder, survivor. He didn't make me successful. I did. And he couldn't take that away, no matter what he stole. Another woman. "Do you regret the marriage?" "I regret the time wasted. But I don't regret the lessons. I know my worth now. I know the warning signs. I know how to protect myself. That knowledge is worth more than the 200 million Nigerian nairas I spent on that fraud." After the meeting, she reviewed foundation finances with her team. 500 women helped. 50 million Nigerian nairas in legal aid provided. 3 successful prosecutions of fraud cases. 2 new laws passed protecting women's assets in marriage. "We're making a difference," her foundation director said. "We're just getting started." That evening, Chioma and Emeka had dinner with her mother. "I'm proud of you, Eneni," her mother said. "Not just for the business or the foundation, for knowing your worth, for not settling. You taught me that, Mama. And now you're teaching it to hundreds of others." Chioma looked at Emeka, who was laughing with her mother, easy and genuine. This was what partnership looked like. Respect, equality, mutual support. Not one person funding everything while the other plotted theft. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. She almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. "Chioma, it's Obinna. I know I have no right to contact you, but I needed to say, I'm sorry for everything. You didn't deserve what we did. I hope you're happy now. You deserve to be." She stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. His apology didn't matter. His guilt didn't matter. He didn't matter. She'd moved so far beyond him that he was just a footnote in her success story. The woman who overheard the plot didn't just beat them at their own plan. She destroyed the plan, the planners, and emerged stronger, wealthier, happier, and more purposeful than ever. Living well wasn't just the best revenge. It was the only revenge that mattered. And Chioma was living extraordinarily well. The end. She won everything. 800 million Nigerian naira's empire. Real love with Emeka. 500 women helped. And he's serving drinks at her award ceremony. If this ending satisfies you, smash that like button. Subscribe to Africantales by Zion for more stories proving that living well is the best revenge. Comment. What was the most satisfying moment? The gala exposure? The court victory? Him as a server at her event? Share this with someone who needs to know. Protect your assets and know your worth. Your success makes you powerful. Don't let anyone con you out of it. Hit that notification bell for more empowering African tales.